Active speaker system. The next step to audio quality is moving to active speaker system architecture. Actually, this topic is evolution from most often asked question. And from my customers and from my channel listeners, I got a question, which amplifier is better? Hypex, ICEpower or Purifi? But in reality, this question is meaningless, and I will explain why. Here I took 3 good amplifiers from each company available for the audience. First is Hypex. It's a great 2x by 250 watt amplifier with a perfect and excellent characteristics. I took a flagship from ICEpower. This ICEpower 1200 AS2 board is my favorite. I really love it, and I think it is the best in a world when we are counting all 20 parameters of amplifiers, not the 3 one what typically are used for the audiophile community. And Purifi, really excellent parameter amplifier when together with power supply. The costs are about 1,000. Now for Hypex it's 1,500, and for ICEpower it's 423 for board. Here you have additionally box. Here you don't have box, and here you don't have box. Let's assume that those two are priced equally, and ICEpower is a half price of those. And now, why this question is irrelevant? And here I summarized some parameters, and also the key here is a human hearing resolution. Human hearing resolution today is much lower than amplifiers. And let's take a basic parameter. Total harmonic distortion. Human hearing resolution is 0.25%. It's scientifically proved. There are articles, there are tests. It is accepted by standards, and with some headroom, standards are saying that human hearing resolution is 0.1, keeping some threshold against the scientific findings. And now, today's budget amps, really budget amps, low-class amps, they have 0.025% total harmonic distortions. Good amps like ICEpower, Hypex, integrated amplifiers with a power supply, so altogether they have total harmonic distortions of 0.025%. This is 10 times more than human can hear. This is 100 times than human can hear. And the industry max, for example, this Purifi super excellent amplifier, it has 1,000 times more than human can hear. Does it make sense? This total harmonic distortion, this total harmonic distortions, or those total harmonic distortions? No. So total harmonic distortion parameter is meaningless today to describe good amplifier, since we are exceeding so many times human hearing resolution. And then I'm looking to Audio Science Review. It's for my side, it's a respectable portal, and that guy is doing absolutely great job, but somehow I'm not agreed ranking amplifiers by total harmonic distortions. This is meaningless parameter for today. Practically all market amplifiers exceeding human hearing resolution, and then it's become meaningless. Amplitude frequency characteristics: 0.25 decibels at 3 kHz, 3 decibels at 100 Hz, and 3 decibels above 10 kHz. Typically budget amps a little bit struggling about that. Their standard amplitude frequency resolution is 0.25 decibels, but problems are mainly in the low frequencies and the very high frequencies, not in the middle. So even budget amps exceeding 3 dBs, what we can hear, and top ones. And good amps has 0.25 decibels, and industry max about 0.12 decibel. But as I said, those parameters are meaningless. Those parameters are meaningless, again, because we are exceeding so many times our capability to hear. I'm not talking about room influence and other stuff. Damping factor, also third parameter, what any audiophile or audio enthusiast knows. The damping factor of 50 is the maximum what you can hear. Budget amps has it between 20 and 50. Good amps about 500, and industry max about 1,000 and more. And once the 50 is a max, 500 or 1,000 or 2,000 or 10,000, those are meaningless. Those very high parameters are side effect of the modern good MOSFETs, and MOSFETs has very low open impedance, and then you get that fantastic figure. But it's definitely nothing to talk about audio amplifier parameter. Third one, what no one is talking, is a power supply peak power capability, and this is very important parameter, far more important than here. And when we're talking about the budget amps, for example, a lot of China, excellent measured amplifiers with perfect total harmonic distortions with all those parameters, great. And I have industrial power supply, typically rated for 2 amps or 5 amps for 48 volts or for 36 volts. And this is a problem because for audio amplifier you need different architecture power supply, which is capable of very high peak power, and those industrial power supplies don't provide it. Those are made for constant load. They can do very well with a LED light, with a computer, with things with a constant load. And good amplifiers should have at least ratio 1:4 to rated power, and industry max even 1:8, but it's very expensive and I haven't seen such a. But 1:4, this is mainstream requirements for very good amplifier, and this is super critical parameter. Output maximum power. For budget amps, it's about 100 watts. 100 watt amplifier niche. It's a perfect power for near field monitors. And in the past, AB class amplifiers practically for a normal budget has power of 80 to 120 watts. Maybe some little bit more, but anyway, from 80 to 120. Today is not obstacle anymore. You can do much higher power very easy, but for mainstream amplifiers it's true 100 watts. If you go more about that, normally the thermal conditions don't allow it, power supply don't allow it, and budget amps are 100 watts. It doesn't matter what they put in the specifications, 2x300 or 2x150. Those are 100 watt amplifiers, and clean output power for budget amps is 35 watts. Rated 300 and 35 watts, what they can do absolutely clean. Then the power supply starts to influence your quality. And amplifier parts are very good for those budget amplifiers. The problem is the power supply. And for good amplifiers and for floor standing, for really great system, you need 400 watt clean power. That means your rated power should be higher, about 500, 600 watts. And we'll talk about the clean power. What does it mean? And industry max, of course, you can go for 800 watts, for kilowatts, for 2 kilowatts. But you know, 1 kilowatt and 2 kilowatt high quality amplifier is very expensive. There's many reasons why, and also there are safety issues. If you go for a 2 kilowatt amplifier, your output voltage is more than 100 volts, and you're already dealing with the voltage related to mains voltages, yes. But I would say 400 watts clean power can drive any. And the last topic, loudspeaker total harmonic distortions for a budget speaker systems. It's about 1% for very good systems. I know 5K for a pair, about 0.1, and then there were some extreme cases about 0.05, little bit more. But anyway, speaker is a weak point of the total harmonic distortions. For low frequencies, we can allow much higher distortions, but for mid-range, we're here. So if you look at the total system, loudspeaker, total harmonic distortions 1%. Amplifiers, budget, more than 10 times. Good amplifiers, more than 100 times. Industry max, more than 1,000 times. Come on. 1%, and then we are talking about total harmonic distortions. Nonsense. Absolute nonsense, because all your harmonics, all your distortion, all your colorations are here on the speaker side. And talking about the clean power, I took one good example from ICEpower 1200 AS2. This is my favorite one. Let's assume that for normal listening we are somewhere here, and clean power is up to the region that by adding power the total harmonic distortion is not rising, and we have about 200, 300, 450, okay, 470, 450. So from ICEpower 1200 IS2 we can get exactly what we need for floor standing. Okay, there's some headroom, but anyways, there's a 450 watts clean power on 8 ohms and then 4 ohms on both. It's made in architecture that that board can deliver a 450 watt clean power for 4 ohm and 8 ohm load, and the max power about 600 for 4 ohm and 8 ohm load. For 4 ohms it's limited by current protection, and for 8 ohms it's limited by bus power. Let's take another example from our super amplifier Purifi, again from the 1 watt. Okay, from the 1 watt, boom, 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 here. And for 8 ohms we have 150 watts. For 4 ohms we have, okay, let's up to here 300 watts. Yeah, but strictly talking, this is absolutely clean power, and then your total harmonic distortion start to rise. So you pay significant money, and if you have 8 ohm speakers, you add 150 watts. Power is not sufficient to really drive it at perfection. Yeah. So you spent 1,000, and you should consider what you have. And then we are moving to the next topic: how to improve your quality. And when we are talking about audio reproduction, it's not about amplifier quality. It's about amplifier capability, accelerate speaker membrane. So both parts, amplifier and speaker membrane. In that case, minimizing any elements between amplifier and speaker, we're improving significantly quality. And here we need a different architecture. In that architecture, crossover is set before amplifiers, and each band, it provides band output, and each band has separate amplifier. There are two benefits. If you are running amplifier for narrow band, any amplifier sounds great. Yeah, it's very easy life for them, very easy life. And also, speaker as a load for direct connection to amplifier is much easier load than crossover. It has a really flat impedance. You have a great damping factor between them, and you can drive with a full power very easy. Here you need about 400 watts. And why you need 400 watts? Because we have two types of speakers. We have closed box and ported. And closed box speakers has a low sensitivity for a woofer. Typically those woofers are 300 watt rated, comparing to 100 watt rated ported box speakers. And then those 400 watts are barely okay, barely okay. You need significant power to drive a woofer. But of course, those closed boxes speakers sounds great if you have powerful amplifier. And here for a mid-range and tweeter, you need about 100 watts. And Class D latest generation amplifiers has so good protection. It is much easier to protect to any scenario that you even don't need a surge for that. There's practically no way that you will have DC current out and can damage your speakers. No way. The protection will kick and they're kicking very fast. So this is a good advantage, and this is future technology. It's a future architecture. So you want much better sound than you have when you already have a good amplifier. The only way is go for active. You can spend I know, couple of thousands money, buy another amplifier, and it will be the same. Yeah, almost the same. No big wow. And let's talk about active speaker concept for consumer market. For professional market, that active speaker systems is already taken market at least 10 years ago. But for consumer, it's just coming, and this is only next step what I see really to improve quality. But the topic is not as simple as it seems. Topic is not that simple. And let's let's talk about the passive speaker benefits. Why this architecture? First, it's flexibility. It's easy, you can exchange components, amplifier, speaker, connection cables, you can play with a different equipment, and you can enjoy. It's a great choice for a male audience. Here I should mention that probably this topic is interesting only for a male audience. I haven't met any lady who could be deep interested in a music equipment and other stuff. They just buy, listen, and forget about. But guys are playing around it. Power cord. Speaker doesn't have power cord, and it is making them easy to place anywhere in a room, and this is big advantage actually for passive systems. I even faced a small inconvenience that my socket was 2 meters away from the speaker, and between there was a entrance to the room, and that made it kind of problematic until I solved it. I was not happy that power cord is attached. Split payment. We should look to the problem from a business perspective. First, you have low entry cost threshold. But if you analyze lifetime spendings of my customers, and those are between 2,000 and 10,000 USD. You start as a student with some music system, you love music, you like to listen it, and your family like to listen it, and you're doing during your lifetime upgrades, and when you honestly calculate, it's about 2,000 and 10,000 USD. If you come with a system that costs 2,000 at your student age, then probably say, go to the hell, I have no money for that. But anyway, when you really want to enjoy, and music is giving so much positive emotion, that good system sounds amazing. And during the lifetime, you of course adding more and more stuff and replacing them. So, but passive speaker, that business model is very attractive for industry. And let's now talk about active speaker architecture for consumer market. I try to find out a sweet point between one or other. First, it should be easy to modify. Keep speakers passive by connecting with 3 pairs of wires and using one-click connector. So I think this is important for a home usage, that you can modify your existing systems. You are not damaging your nice furniture type enclosures. And it should be very easy to go back to initial state if you decide to sell it. Power cord, no power cord for speaker box. This is allocation flexibility. And probably one more, when you're making that speaker box passive just in 3 speakers in it, that it's more carpenter job than electronic job, and you can find many drawings, and you can find a number of garage sales, good speakers, where you can replace some of them and build incredible systems just for nothing, or maybe you even have something in a garage. Okay. Then flexibility, usable for passive speakers, active speakers, and 5 home cinema with front speakers for music. If you make a right architecture, you can combine several things, use it at least for 3 scenarios. Professional crossover, use large volume standardized products from professional industry to reduce costs, raise choice flexibility, and also raise quality. When something is very well elaborated from good manufacturer like I thought DBX, for example, they have in lineup 5 or 6 crossovers. All of them are excellent, and you can buy super duper digital with all room corrections as infinite flexibilities to align phases, align frequency characteristics, and many other things, and do the room corrections. And you have simple analog crossovers, but they are built with such quality, and through the years, those are many years, those designs are super optimal. I would say that most of those designs, what you can find in market, they're similar. Yeah, they're similar. Also, the last thing, wake up from signal or 12-volt trigger. And I think that future system would be like that amplifier is not even at your front shelf. It's somewhere on a back wall or nearby the speakers, and you switching on and they go to the sleep automatically. When you switch off your preamp or your signal, and it's driven by source signal or 12-volt trigger, automatically goes into sleep status with no signal at the input. And I think all those conceptual things are important for a consumer market. And it is possible to make with existing product amplifier board product lineup what we have in the market, and those are accessible for DIY community as well. Now we need a good connector, because we need to connect without errors 3 or sometimes even 4 speakers. And there's a good news in professional industry. There's a speaker connector NL8FC. It's 8-pole cable connector, latch lock, chat type strain relief for cables 8 to 20 millimeters diameter. It's 30 amps continuous per contact. This is far more than we need. In the worst case scenario for a woofer, we need no more than 10 amps. But they are rated for the 30 amps fit, and we have some headroom. The industry standard for loudspeaker connection offers extreme reliability and robust cable connection with a reliable locking system. They feature solid contacts with screw-type terminals, including stranded wire protection, which offers also solder terminations. In simple, this is super trooper connector, and the only choice if you want to have it simple, reliable, and easy affordable for a reasonable price. We will go for that one. Here I have a little bit more details about it. Also, professional industry producing cables with 8 pairs in it. You can build a four-way system and there is integrated cable. Those are not cheap. Those are rated by 10 euros per meter. And now let's assume you need 2 times 7 meter solution, and then you have 140 euros additional to your project. But that's really handy and great that at least industry has it. You can buy them in professional music shops and on online catalogs. Here is more details about the wiring, and you can see here is a mark and here is a 1, and 1 is positives are in inner circle and negatives are in outer circle. So here is a +1, -1. For my standards, I choose that +1, -1 go for woofer, +2, -2 go for mid-range, and +3, -3 go for tweeter. And that fourth part will not be used. And here I will double wire thickness. Yeah, for low frequencies I will double wire thickness. There are 3 standards. The standard of 1.5 square millimeter copper, 2.5 square millimeter copper, and 4 millimeters square copper. For a home usage, we need the smallest one, 1.5 square millimeter copper. Actually, we need less, but there is no in professional world. There is no such standard lower than 1.5 square millimeters. How to modify your speaker system? And I think the easiest way is cut wires going to crossover and put the screw terminals. This is my real customer, and I will provide the screw terminals for just to cover. You can cut it here. The good thing is that then you always can come back. You shouldn't solder, you shouldn't remove, just replace back that cutted and put together with the screw terminals. The quality will not be influenced. And here is how typical speaker looks. You have a back plate, and then you make another one for those active speaker pattern, and then you have such kind of plate replaced. Want to sell your speakers, so go back. You just go back to the plate what you stored in a secure location, and connect those connectors with cutted ones with the screw terminals. Screw terminals you can buy at any Home Depot, and those are easy find, and those are reliable terminals. Next, choosing the board. I need professional with worldwide warranties. Why professional? Because professional boards stay in the market for many years, and consumer boards showing up and disappearing. Probably this is the right approach. Also, you will have replacement options in the future and many other things. Available in retail for DIY customers. I have many DIY customers for my products as well, and so this availability is good. I don't want to be the only guy providing them, and I not always have them in stock, so it's better to have it in a retail for a big retailer. Woofer power at least 400 watts, mid-range tweeter power at least woofer power at least 400 watts, mid-range tweeter power at least 100 watt, quadro balanced or stereo bridged. For that you need one chip driver type of solutions, because you should bridge them precisely, but then those amplifiers are very good, especially directly connected to speakers. They can drive with a very high response, those speakers, because then you have two amps, and one amplifier is going halfway positive and a second amplifier going halfway negative. They are twice faster than single-ended, and this is what you need. You need to really precisely drive your speaker membrane, and then this is the most effective way. Also, I want a mid-range tweeter power supply separated from woofer, because when you go for closed box solutions, you are marginal at power what you have, and for low frequencies we can go even with 10% distortion. It's fine, and most of those distortions comes from the power issues with the power supply. The power supply is not able to fully support your power at max, and then you will not be impacted in a mid-range and tweeter having separate power supply. Here you can go as absolute max and still have super clean mids and tweeter. That's a good architecture, but of course then you have extra costs for additional power supply what you have on those boards. Also, an enclosure, I want to fit into you 200mm deep enclosure, and I want to use rack mount options what we have for a budget price from proven manufacturers. They are manufactured in large volumes, and there are so-called rack cases, and you can use them, and then you put all your system together. They are mobile, and the system become mobile, and it's well organized and absolutely perfect. So this is right approach, and weight doesn't exceed 5 kilograms. After setting those strict requirements, I have only a few options, and ICEpower is the only one who is selling professional products in consumer market. ICEpower 1200 AS2 plus 2 times 200 AS2. This is my choice. As I said, this is my superhero product. I'm really happy how it is, and I personally think that it is the best board in a market available today, because it has quadro balanced design, 4 channels in a pair set in a bridged connection, and then you have this maximum quality out. It also has a PFC for that power. They have phase corrector, what is kind of requirement for a higher power units from European Union market. So that's good. And then you have 2 boards of the lower power. Also, you can see that power supply is on, and this is based on TPA 3255 chipset. It is 1 chip 4 channel Class D amplifier, and then you again get this quadro balanced architecture that you can drive your mid-range and tweeters with excellent tolerance. How about the prices? All the board total price is 750, and those are available in retail. Those are end user prices, and I think it's a fair price for so many boards and for a 3-way system. It's still less than Hypex and Purifi amplifier itself. Okay, now let's build a prototype. So this is the front. In the front I will have two switches, one switch for a high power board and one switch for two lower power boards. Here is a vent, you need some proper cooling, and here is air intake. From the back side, of course, there's a main, there's a 12 volt in, 12 volt out. This is setting up in a mode of 12 volt or wake up from signal. Here is my mentioned connector. Of course, you need some fan. I'm using a good Article fan. Could you make a system without fan? Not with such density of power, but it is silent, and I have a PWM board with a temperature sensor, but in 90% of your cases running at very low RPMs. And of course, then you have two channel inputs. It's low, mid, high, low, mid, high for another channel, and that's it on a back panel. So I have a tight design, and I should put boards on the sides, otherwise I'm not fitting in asked dimensions. There are holes for preset standoffs, and the board will secure it with a 10 millimeter distance from the input surface, and those holes, 5 holes, are for a bracket. I decided to go for a movable bracket that you can use it also as a standalone product if you want it. And here is the bottom plate. There's a main board, and there's some supportive boards. Here will be board like a motherboard to put everything together. You have many boards, you have some automation. This is everything built in. Here's a PWM driver board. It's located close to the main board, and it has a thermosensor. Thermosensor located somewhere here where it's hot. And the final, it's a bracket. Yeah, it's okay. Let's make it smaller. So simple bracket. You can use it, or you can just remove it. It's up to you. But I think the bracket is a good thing that you can use rack mount options, and there are nice looking rack mount options that you can organize all your system in simple way. Okay, now it's time for me to go to the workshop and build everything what we designed and what we decided. I will come back with assembled unit and show it how it looks when we put everything together. Let's build prototype.